Kenya, the breadbasket of Eastern Africa, is a thriving, bustling economy with a population of 45 million people. Kenya has made significant structural and economic reforms that have contributed to sustained economic growth in the past decade. The country is generally perceived as Eastern and Central Africa's hub for financial, communication, and most importantly, transportation services. The transport system comprises of road, air, maritime, and rail transport. The sector is crucial in the promotion of socio-economic activities and development, since an efficient and effective transport system is a mainspring for rapid and sustained development both nationally and regionally. This is why the Kenyan government, in its Vision 2030, has committed to providing a high-capacity, cost-effective railway transport that will permit seamless operation across its borders.
My government is determined to build a high-speed, high-capacity, standard-gauge railway line connecting Mombasa to Kampala and onward to Kigali.
This project is by far the largest ever, and not just in Kenya, but also in East and Central Africa. Along the railway, there are a lot of other projects which are coming off as a result of the railway itself. And so it is acting as a catalyst to make sure that we achieve the other major projects in terms of Vision 2030.
The railway that has been there from 1900, and there has not been a further built up of the same. With the meter gauge, currently, it's really difficult to actually even get any new parts. So usually what we are doing is we're actually getting imported second hands or repairing what we have, because globally everyone has moved towards the standard gauge.
In the 80s, the best that the meter gauge was able to perform was about 4.5 million tons, and that followed a lot of investments that government and development partners had injected into the railways. What that means is that with the growth that we are seeing in the port, last year the port did 24 million tons, and it's growing at the rate of 8 to 10% per annum. It is not possible for the existing meter gauge to be able to support the economic growth of this country, the cargo offtake, and therefore has left a lot of burden on the road.
And so it was extremely important that we invest very quickly in terms of making sure that we have capacity to offload cargo from Mombasa into Nairobi, into the hinterland, and also into the neighboring countries.
The main differences between the standard gauge railway and the meter gauge railway, called MGR, are quite a number. It's wider, more stable. The meter gauge railway line, the maximum speed is 72 kilometers per hour, whereas the design of the standard gauge railway is to be able to run at 120 kilometers per hour. The gradient again on the standard gauge railway is much flatter to allow trains to move at faster speeds. We have a maximum gradient of 1.2 on the standard gauge railway, whereas in the meter gauge railway we have 1.5, so it's much steeper. The standard gauge railway is designed to be able to carry turbo-star containers. So on one wagon you can put two containers on top of one another. One train can pull 216 TEUs, 20-foot containers. Whereas in the current meter gauge railway, a train can only pull 17 wagons, which can carry a maximum of 34 containers.
Kenya's master plan for standard gauge railway development is one network of about 3,100 kilometers divided into two main sections. One is what we call the Northern Corridor. The Northern Corridor is a corridor that moves from Mombasa through to Nairobi to Malaba with a branch to Kisumu. The other corridor is the Lamu Corridor. The Lamu Corridor under the LAPSSET is intended to serve our neighboring landlocked countries of Ethiopia and South Sudan. What we are currently developing is a Northern Corridor, standard gauge railway development, and which is divided into two phases. Phase one is Mombasa-Nairobi corridor. It's a corridor of 472 kilometers.
It's important we do all the sections. And the reason being, if for whatever reason the other countries do not complete their projects on the other side, then we can have our cargo going to Kisumu, where we are going to spend $140 million to put a port in Kisumu. That port can then take the cargo and through the lake take the goods across the shores. And so, end of the day, Kenya cannot lose out.
Kenya's progress on SGR is really critical even to the funding of the other countries' rail networks, because no one will fund Uganda's unless they are guaranteed that Kenya's rail will get to Malaba.
The project is funded by the government of Kenya through the Railway Development Levy Fund and the China Exim Bank. China Exim Bank has funded 90% of the loan, and the government is funding 10% of that total component, which is about 327 billion Kenya shillings.
The construction is taking place virtually everywhere between kilometer 0 at Mombasa and 472 at Nairobi terminus.
The contractor has mobilized very heavily. We have very many teams working on the project. The works are divided into sections so that you have as many teams working on every site that where work is required to be undertaken. So far we have over 200 work teams across the entire corridor. We have 2 beam and sleeper manufacturing factories. One is at Kathekani, at Mutitu Andei, and the other one is at Emali. The way they are organized is that the Emali factory will serve the area between Emali and Nairobi to bring in sleepers and beams that are required to develop this section of the line, while the Kathekani one will serve the area between Mutitu Andei and Mombasa. To date, we are at 60% in terms of the works that were intended to be undertaken under the civil works contract, and we believe that by close of the year will be above 60%. We anticipate that on the 1st of June 2017, there is a commitment that we have given to the government. The contractor will hand over the project to Kenya Railways so that come June 2017, we will be ready to run freight trains, we'll be ready to run passenger trains. The understanding we had with the contractor was that they will bring about 2,000 professionals to work with our people.
The SGR project is using the Chinese railway standard. Maybe the local workers and technicians, they are not familiar with the SGR standard, but they are very prone to learning what is going on. And also we have been making efforts to do a good job in the training of the local employees.
In every section, we have training rooms, we have laboratories which are manned by locals, and we are looking at when we go to phase 2 and by the time we reach Malaba, we should have more locals working as skilled workers, even helping the rest of the region.
Chinese, most of them, they want you to learn a lot of things from them. Like for example, when you are employed as a carpenter, they also want you to have experience in electrical, and also you have experience in masonry. I was employed as a professional welder, but now I can do some electrical work. I can also do carpentry, and being that I know most of the work, that's why they have put me as their supervisor.
The other beams that we have constructed earlier, that is in other projects, they are not like this one. These are super standard. So the experience I have gained in these beams, I will just apply them in making other beams in future.
I would say now the project is employing about over 17,000 Kenyans, and most of those people are doing crucial technical activities. A lot of technology transfer has actually taken place.
This project supports close to another 8,000 people who are indirectly dependent on this project.
Over 30 billion shillings has actually been what local suppliers have provided, meaning that those are additional jobs that have been created there.
Towns around the stations can be planned into urban centers or economic zones. There's a lot of potential once the project is up and running.
I will be very proud even to explain to my children that we built the CRBC railways.
After the main contractor finished their work, we shall be the one doing the maintenance because we shall be having that knowledge of maintaining our bridges.
I'm proud of our government for actually undertaking this project. I'm looking forward to the project moving all the way to Malaba and into the hinterland so that Mombasa can become a major port for the region.
It is evident that this project is a reality, and we believe that by 2017 it will be able to deliver the objectives that we promised the people of Kenya. We want to see a modal shift from road to rail. We want to reduce the number of accidents, the deaths that we find on Mombasa Road. I would only urge Kenyans to give us time, watch this space. It is here, it's happening, and it's real.
SGR is going to be a very transformative initiative. It's opening up areas within Kenya that had not been opened up before. That means that someone from Ahero can actually be trading in Nairobi because it only takes about 3 hours. So businesses will open up. There'll be a lot more efficiency within our transport corridor. And I believe for that reason is why our government is supporting this and why every Kenyan should support it.
We are committing a lot of funds to make sure we have a seamless transportation system. On top of the SGR, we shall do what we call the Nairobi Commuter Rail, which will be basically taking passengers from the city into key exit points of the city. We expect that most people will be using the train. And therefore, the agony you go through today in terms of transport system, I believe it will be a thing of the past.
I am looking forward to joining all of you here very soon to flag off the first train to Kigali via Nairobi and Kampala, delivering the promise of prosperity for all our East African peoples.